First, we have to know that there's only 4 major economic seasons that we can go through, and know that it's a fool's game to actually think we can predict what season we're going to go through next. Like Peter Lynch, a famous investor, said, if you spend 13 minutes a year on economics, you've wasted 10 minutes. But we don't have to forecast. We just need to know the 4 seasons and then have asset classes that can fit and have historically done well during those 4 seasons. So quick recap, the 4 seasons are higher than expected inflation. We're familiar with that one. Or lower than expected inflation or deflation, and then higher than expected economic growth or lower than expected economic growth. As an example, during a period of higher than expected inflation, where stocks and many bonds were down in 2022, investors who had commodities or short-term inflation-protected bonds had an income source that wasn't getting as impacted as other stocks and other bonds. So during that period, they had asset classes that they could access if needed. So that's a way to become more anti-fragile, or have the plan be anti-fragile. Now, if you like these ideas and you're not getting them currently, reach out to us by clicking the button below or going to streamlineplanning.com and then click Get Started. But on to number 4, the way to have anti-fragile retirement has to do with your withdrawal rate. If someone had a plan that's withdrawing 5% per year, and then they showed a 99% chance of success, well, it makes sense to find out how much of that 5% is flexible, just in case it needs to be adjusted. It doesn't mean that you have to change anything, but just knowing this can increase your confidence. And the easiest way to do this is to define your needs, which are house expenses, food, medical, the things that we must have, and then your wants, which is the travel, the entertainment, or the golf memberships. And having some flexibility in your withdrawal plan can really lower the pressure on the overall plan when you know what's needs and what's not. And I'll include a withdrawal strategy that you don't hear about often coming up. And this can actually allow some people to actually spend more in retirement. Now, number 5, that's related to spending, and that is healthcare planning. Specifically, building into your plan, what would it look like if there was a earlier than needed long-term care expense? Most of our clients can self-insure for those big expenses, but maybe it's worth exploring what happens if you do need, if healthcare costs go way up for a period of time, or explore long-term care insurance costs. That can be helpful. And then number 6 is inflation rates. So looking at the results of different expectations of average inflation could be useful. There's this risk actually that's called sequence of inflation risk. And I plan to do another video on that coming up in a few weeks. On to number 7, that's taxes and tax mitigation. So this is an extra. I guess I've got a few more ways than I originally thought, but looking at the various future tax rate scenarios could be helpful if you have a large portion in your retirement savings, like a 401k or traditional IRA. When you take money out of there, all of it's taxable. We know that we can't control tax rates, but we can control how much is taxable. This is really related to the tax efficient withdrawal strategy, which is it's part of your total income strategy. And that's one of the big 3 things you got to get right in retirement to really optimize things. The other 2 are investment strategy and then just overall tax strategy. So income, investment, and tax strategy. And I've got future videos in the queue, more on tax planning. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. But the big takeaway is have multiple what if scenarios in your retirement plan, because the less we can rely on assumptions having to be right, the more room for error we can build in, and then the more valuable your plan becomes. And then the more confident you become too.